Hey guys, we're just going to come in here and chat just a little bit. Justice for All just got off of his live with Stacey, which ended up cutting that live a little short. So I'm not going to play the live. Obviously, it just ended. But I did get a little bit. I just got the tail end of the interview with Stacey Wondra. But I can tell you the little bit of the interview that I got at the end because we went over Dolly's interview the other day. If you haven't seen it, I don't know where my pen is. If you haven't seen it, you need to check it out. What was it, like a day or so? Hey guys, nice to come on in. Come on in. This is just kind of an impromptu discussion because Justice for All just got off another interview with Stacey Wondra, with the Michael Monkey Vaughn case. His wife was accused of failing to call in, a deceased person. It was a charge. Um, but really, there really isn't a whole lot. Like we didn't sleuth our way to this point. Like they didn't just come up in a search or anything like that. Like they just kind of came out of left field. We didn't really know about them until Sarah was arrested. And then we learned after Sarah was arrested that her husband had already previously been arrested. And JD Huff kept all of this close to his chest. JD Huff is the chief of police out there in Fruitland, Idaho. Well, I didn't really get a chance. I got a chance to listen to a little bit of Brooke's interview, but not too awfully much. I had a lot of questions when that was going on, but not near as many questions as I had after Dolly Vision's interview. I thought Dolly Vision was very thorough. He really, it seemed like he really honed in on the timeline from start to finish. It was really good, but when you started comparing that next to the timeline, for Michael Monkey Vaughn and his disappearance, there was an hour difference. And I remember bringing that up, and I can tell you because I took copious notes. Remember, I was joking around saying I could be paper cut Tina, wah wah wah. Right? Remember, I could be paper cut Tina. Because I took so many notes, and it took me forever to get through that interview because I wanted to make sure that I had something I could go back to. I didn't make it detailed notes, I did my chicken scratch on it. But when I'm reading it, I know what was said. It's enough to remind me of the conversation. I hate Tutti Frutti. It's nice to see everybody in here tonight. I usually don't come in on Sunday nights, but like I said, I was reviewing I like Justice for All and the Lab. They're both really good and very thorough. And it's so funny because the Lab was getting a little frustrated. Like you could hear him huffing and puffing in the back. Like he doesn't like people that hurt kids, But it's a breath of fresh air is all I'm saying, because there's so many people on social media that's scared to step on toes. We're not here for a popularity contest. We're here to find out what happened to these kids. And I like the Lab's approach. He's a no nonsense person. He kind of very direct questioning. I like that. That for a person like me that is that way. I appreciate that. I'm a very direct person. I like people being just direct with me. No BS. Just tell me like it is. I'm an adult. What's the worst thing that could have happened? Nobody's killed you yet. Like, there's no need to lie, right? Right? We're too old for that nonsense, right? Just tell it like it is. Quit dancing. I'm just a straight shooter, I don't know. Yeah, no bar, no whole bar, or no bars. There we go. I can't speak tonight. But exactly. But I only caught the tail end. I know Justice for All is one of those people that goes on for a significant amount of time, or can. And it sounded like Stacey was starting to get a little flustered. He was getting flustered, and he made some critical mistakes in his timeline on this one that I haven't heard. And I'm not sure if he made the mistake on Dolly Visions or if he made the mistake on Justice for All. Did you guys hear the timeline changed almost an hour from Dolly Vision's interview to Justice for All? We need to figure that out. What did he say? Did Brooks ask him about when he left his house to go pick up Brandon's vehicle? He didn't cough much tonight. He was in a darker room. He wasn't as quiet and docile. You know what I'm saying? Like when he was getting pressured, he seemed to get more authoritarian. You know, he's been so calm, cool, and collective. You know, he had more power in his voice tonight in certain questions. Like he was feeling pressured, and it makes me weird. I don't know how I feel about that, because if he's feeling pressured by, just detailed questions, naturally my first question to myself would be, why is he feeling that way? And I don't know why he's feeling that way. This was the interview on Justice for All was a different type of interview than I've seen Stacey give so far, if that makes sense. He just seemed a little more aware, and more authoritarian. The Edit Twins, God bless you. Thank you, Love Bug. If you got your Bullhorn Betty gift membership, don't forget to tell the Edit Twins thank you. We love you. We love you. Thank you. Thank you. Barbara, it's nice to see you, love. Yes, I'm on. I don't usually come on, but again, it was something that just happened. It just happened on Justice for All's channel. And the timeline, I'm telling you, because I sat down here, I read these notes over and over again. As soon as he said this, I knew it was wrong. He just told Justice for All and Josh with the lab that they left their house at 6 p.m. That's what he just said, and didn't get back home until 10:20 p.m. And I'm like, nope. I took notes. I listened to it multiple times. I can tell you exactly where it is on Dolly's interview. I certainly can. And I know I told my audience to get their pen and paper out and take notes and make sure that you look at the timeline, that you write down the time. Don't worry about anything else. Just write these numbers down, right? We made sure we looked at the time, and we looked at the time thoroughly. And I can tell you specifically here on the notes, the official transcription, paper cut, Betty. That's it. PCB. Oh, good Lord. They're going to come up with instead of BHB, PCB. What do I keep hearing? I think there's something. Oh, it's over here. Is it over here? Oh, it is over here. Let me take this off. I think it's the I still had Justin's thing up, and I kept hearing like a little click, a little hit like every little bit, and I'm like, what is it? And it must be because it's off. It's weird. But they said they were in the red burgundy GMC. He made some statements that were a little, I don't know, questionable. Maybe it's because he knew what people were going to think when he said duffel bag. And so he preemptively, because he knows why Sarah's in jail, he preemptively knew that by telling the duffel bag that people would assume that. So he may have just preemptively expressed or explained that no boy could fit in it. Now, I don't know how he would know that unless he's actually tried to fit a boy in it. But I digress. I'm not going to allege that. I'm just saying it sounded really odd how it was said. But he did say, these were some of the questions that I had. Let me just, I don't know if they were ever answered, because again, I came into Justice for All's live late. I literally only got to listen whenever you heard me say hi, hey everyone. That's when I came into the room. So anything before that, I didn't hear. And when I did come into the room, they were discussing back and forth, and I happened to notice one of the first things I noticed is why he looks like he's sitting in the The dark. I'm referring to Stacey. Like his face was really, really dark. And I heard them questioning it, and they were finally back onto the laundry. And I remember jumping into chat, and it's like, why couldn't he wash the clothes at their house? And he's asking them, they're going into the conversation about how, gosh, it's so hard for me to keep. The Stacey and the Sarah are catching me up. They really are. I'm going to end up calling Stacey Sarah and Sarah Stacey. Watch. I guarantee it. It's a real thing. I'm having a problem with it. So I'm like, Bullhorn Betty. Justin isn't paying attention to me. He doesn't see me in the sea of 1,900 people. Let me go ahead and text him. Let me go ahead and blow up Justin for All's telephone number, his cell phone, his private cell phone number, so I can make sure that he gets my question right here and right now, because the world lives and breathes Bullhorn Betty, and I'm sorry, he wasn't paying attention to me, okay? And I had questions, damn it. I'm just joking, but I'm not. That wasn't going through my mind. I just had some questions, and I knew his number, and he says, text him to me. So I did. I took him up on the offer. I'm just saying. That's all I'm saying. I took him up on the offer to privately text him in the middle of 1,900 people. I'm just saying. I don't know. He offered. I accepted, okay? I just happened to, it's a time and place thing. I get it. So here's what I said. Also, I have a few questions about the timeline, and it's more about the evening timeline. He says that they left around 5:30 to go get Brandon's car before he stopped at 5:40 outside their community to put the power steering fluid in the vehicle. However, Brandon only lives about 45 minutes away, yet they got home at 9:30 at night. Why did it take him so long to get home? Also, he said he came back home around 4:30 in the afternoon, and Sarah and Brandon were there, but Adrian was not. However, there we see a photo at 4:47, which it would imply that Brandon and Sarah were still with Adrian. Can he explain that? Of course, he didn't get this well-written list of questions, interrogation questions. I'm just joking. But literally, this is how I knew it was wrong. Because God strike me dead on a Sunday. I'm telling you, I'm not lying. I just hit send. This was sent. As soon as this was sent, Stacey starts telling the timeline of now 6:20 and 10. And I'm like, what? What? I had just sent this, and this is based upon my notes, which I know my notes on the timeline are accurate because I remember I went back 2 times to check that 5:40, because the way the questions were asked on Dolly is he asked the question, then they kind of got on a tangent, and then he answered the question. So I had to go back and write it in the area of the notes where he answered the question. So it was in order because I'm anal like that with my notes. And so I know for a fact he originally said it was 5:15. You know how I know he originally said it was 5:15? I wrote originally 5:15, and he goes, no. I remember this because I only have to put a few things to trigger my memory on what was said. And I remember said, no, it was more like 5:30 is what he said. And he goes, well, what time do you think you got outside of the community where you needed to put the power steering fluid in? And he said 5:40. And then they go on and on and on, and they talk about the house, how he sees a child wearing, and the child has dark brown hair, around 8 or 9 years old. Remember this all? Is this all ringing a bell to you? And he says, and it was really weird how he even said this statement, because he said he was in the neighbor's yard. And I remember Dolly saying something like, how do you know he was in the neighbor's yard, or something like that? And I'm thinking, well, how did he know that kid didn't live there? He obviously had to have known where the kids were if he knew that particular kid playing in that yard was the neighbor's yard. Otherwise, you would just automatically assume a kid playing in the yard is in their own yard. So for him to make that statement of this boy being in the neighbor's yard would imply he knew the boy and knew the boy was not in his own yard. I'm not, I'm not looking at, I'm not playing on words either. It's not like one of these misspeaks, because I remember Dolly challenged him on it too. And he said it again, because the way Dolly was implying is they were looking at it like it was Michael instead of an 8 or 9-year-old. So it seemed like, I don't know. We'll have to go back. We'll go back and review that one. It happened literally right up. Well, no, how far is it? I guess it wasn't right up front. It was more probably about 20 minutes into the interview, give or take. But they say that they saw this outside in the front yard, and this is right about the time he asked him, well, how long do you think it would take you to do the power steering fluid? And he said about 30 seconds. And I'm thinking, that doesn't sound right either, because you pull the truck over, you put it in park, you open the door, you got to go to the back, try to find the power steering fluid, unless it's right there. And even if it's right there, you got to pop the hood, push the lever over the hood, lift the hood up, take the top of the twist thing off for the power steering. And then you get an opportunity to pour. And that's if you have a funnel. And then you got to still try to clean up any mess, because again, it's a fluid. So it seems like it would imply that there was more than 30 seconds, but I digress. I did give him 2 minutes, because he said he got there at 5:40. He was in that little patch. Now, tonight, he said they left at 6 and got home at 10:20, or 6:20 and got home at 10. I remember a 20 being in there one place, and I remember a 6 and a 10. So I don't know if the 20 it goes to the 6:20 or the 20 goes with the 10 and be a 10:20. Either way, the timeline has absolutely 100% changed from Dolly Vision's interview to this interview. Was it a misspeak? And this is, I don't like accusing people, because like I said, so far, everything I have looked at outside of this weird, strange phenomenon of behavior of these people, while I agree, appears to be suspect, I don't see any visible connection between Michael Vaughn and the Wondras. I'm not saying, don't misunderstand me and me thinking that I don't think they had anything to do with it. I'm just simply saying that he's saying that he didn't have anything to do with it, and there has been no real linkage outside of this weird behavior from these 4 individuals that potentially could link them. I have to say, I met J.D. Huff. I think he was a very strategic, thoughtful police chief. And one of the reasons why I give him that, he's very nice too, by the way, just kind of one of those thin, I don't know. He's just nice. I mean, he's just nice. I don't know. He's just nice. He's nice. And he's very, like I said, he's very, he thinks about things. And he was able to keep the Wondras out of the public eye and not under scrutiny of the public for a significant amount of time when they charged them for unrelated crimes. I applaud officers like J.D. Huff, because I always talk about the low-hanging fruit. When you don't know what to do and you don't have a case and you need to build a case, you look for low-hanging fruit, because at the end of the day, you want the bad guy behind bars so they don't do it again. And if you've got something there, a past abuse, a gun charge, get them off the streets. Get them off the streets and out of the know. Because the sooner you get those people off the streets, the less you have to worry about them destroying evidence, tampering with witnesses. You don't have, setting the narrative. You eliminate a lot of that nonsense by getting them behind bars quickly and as quickly as possible. Because if, depending on some circumstances, you could literally prevent them from using the phone outside of one phone call. You can literally prevent them from having phone calls until they're, charged. I can't remember. They have they can detain you for 48 hours or something like that. They can prevent you from having calls then during that time. They can give you your call so people know where you're at. But it's my understanding they can prevent you from ever making another call or knowing what's going on. That's the whole reason why they detain you. So, but long story short, they were there. The timeline changed. It changed potentially 20 or 40 minutes later. Because when I was looking at the timeline, and what makes it so bad is now his new timeline almost puts him smack at the time Michael Monkey went missing as to when he would have stopped that truck on the outside, because he went from 5:30. Michael Monkey Vaughn is believed to have went missing between 6:40 and 7 p.m., a 20-minute window. It wasn't really probable. Now, I didn't really believe the timeline much anyways, because right when he starts out the evening timeline, after he comes back from his fair from Idaho, he basically says that they left the home. Now, mind you, there is no truck strapped to the back of their vehicle that they're using. They're going to get the vehicle. And I've been inside that community. I've been literally in front of their home. Did we go live from their home? I can't remember if we went live or if I just took footage, but I think I did go live in front of their home. I have to go back and look. But I was in front of their home when they were both arrested. And it was after they had already dug up the backyard. It was all put back together. You didn't even, from the road and everything, you didn't even notice that they had dug up the backyard, to be honest with you, because they put the fence back up and you couldn't see what was behind it. Now, I don't know if the yard was damaged or not. I'm just saying that from my view, you couldn't see it. So I know where their house is, and I know exactly where Michael Monkey Vaughn has allegedly went missing from. According to law enforcement, he allegedly made it to Arizona and 9th, according to the reports that came out at the beginning. I'm like everybody else. Has that changed with new information that law enforcement has received? It is absolutely possible that we don't know that, where he disappeared from in that location has changed. I can just tell you, when I went out there, that was the location that we honed in on as ground zero, because that's what was in all the reports. So, again, with this new time change, it puts them closer to the timeline of when Michael Monkey Vaughn disappeared. This doesn't put him in a better position. So that's where I'm trying to figure out, did he misspeak and say 6 when he meant to say 5? Or did he misspeak on Dolly's and throw everybody off and then realize something didn't match his timeline that he told law enforcement, and he's now had to fix it for the purposes of litigation, and has changed it. And now, where he missed it by a hair, like he was out there by 6:20 and maybe putting power fluid in his car at 6:30, but the timeline changed. And I remember he specifically said, because Dolly was asking him, when you got to Brandon's house, tell me what took place, who went inside the house. And Dolly was told that only Brandon went inside the house, and he took his duffel bag, and when he came out, he had changed his clothes. And he washed the clothes that was in the duffel bag. And while he was doing that, which that only took him about 10 minutes, I remember him saying 10 minutes, and 10 or 15 minutes, or it's a little vague there, because he did say 15 minutes at one point, and then walked it back to 10 minutes at another point. And he said that took place simultaneously while he was hooking up Brandon's vehicle. And so he said, well, what were you guys doing? Well, if he was, and again, some clarification issues here, because he's saying that Brandon took about as much time as it took him to hook up the car. But then Dolly goes on to ask him, well, what did you and Sarah do when you got into the car? What did you say? And he said, I was probably blasting the radio. And it's like, well, how long could you have blasted the radio before Brandon was coming out if Brandon took as long as you did? So again, just minor clarification stuff that may or may not mean a whole lot. And then they were talking about when they were coming back. They didn't say how long they were on the road, but he did say that the tie strap did break on their way back, and they took a different route home. They were going down 52, Highway 52, when that belt strap broke. And it took them another 10 minutes to hook that belt strap back up to the car so they could proceed back home. But again, oh, Justin, I see you in here. It's nice to see you. I was just going over because I didn't get into your chat until like later. When I said hi is when I got in, and I didn't realize I had missed, a good portion of the interview. But I had just sent you that. I was teasing you to go back. I was like, Justin's not paying enough attention to me. I gotta go text this man. Anyways, so I'm and I had just sent you that long-winded text about the timing, about the 5-4. Right when I sent that, he started talking about the timeline and changed it. The timeline he gave Dolly was that they left that house at 5:30. They got about to the place where they stopped to put the power steering fluid in about 5:40. And then it only took about 30 seconds, and then they were off. They ended up taking the interstate over to where I had it written down, over to that Kuna. Is that right? Kuna? Over to Kuna. He said that Brandon went inside. And mind you, their drive there was only 45 minutes. Now, I don't know what their drive back, but if they only spent 15 minutes at the house and 10 minutes after the tie strap, that's an additional 25 minutes in addition to that longer route on the back roads towing the vehicle. Probably at a slower speed because you're towing a vehicle with the strap. So even if we said it took them twice the time, that's 2 hours. So if they left at 5:40, they should have been back at 7:40. So why are they pulling in at 9:30? And then as soon as I hit that and it sends to you, he writes that they left there, at 6 o'clock or 6:30 or something. It was an hour difference. And they didn't get back there until 10:20. And he specifically told Dolly that he got back at 9:30. And his wife and Brandon never got out of the car. Yeah, the math ain't exactly. And so now, it wasn't. I had some clarification because I went over Dolly's entire interview, and I had some clarification questions because, in all fairness, I was looking at the demeanor of Stacey when he was talking, and so far his demeanor with everybody, from the news to the social media folks here have been very calm. He's been in a lazy position, really, nonchalant, never really getting overly excited or agitated in any way. And those are very good, calming things that you like to see when you're questioning somebody, especially that could potentially be a person of interest in a young boy's case. You never want to be thinking you're talking to somebody that could be perceived as a monster, right? So those are good traits to see in somebody when they are being questioned about some, not so comfortable information. But tonight was the first time that I saw him get a little more, he wasn't really in a lazy position. He was in a more assertive position. He was kind of in the dark, which was a little weird for me. While he was talking to you, his face seemed really, really extra dark tonight. And he seemed like he came from, you were able to spark some frustration a little bit because I heard his tempo and the power of his voice elevate and get more forceful at times, which was a complete difference. Yeah, I know you did. It was a complete different Stacey than we had seen in the past interviews. And that's what's really sparked this, because now it's like, wait a minute, because I don't like looking like, an idiot over here. And I like that, there really, and like I said, there really isn't a whole lot outside of when Sarah got arrested. That's when we heard the Wondra name. We had no clue who this was. This was almost like a Brian Koberger event. We were like, the Wondras, Who's the Wondras, you know? So it's not like they were on our radar, that there was something major going on here that put our focus onto them. It wasn't until the arrest that our focus went on them. But now that we're looking at them, we're looking at all this linkage and we're like, well, where's the linkage? And so far, based upon his interview with Dolly, I'm thinking, could it be? Could it not be? I didn't like some of his answers, and I even said we need to clarify on these because the questions that I had that could be clarified could be justified. You know what I'm saying? But tonight kind of made me change a little bit on that front, because I'm thinking he's not the same calm, cool, and collected person. Now I know Justin, I know Josh. I've seen Josh. I don't know Josh personally. I can know Justin, but I've seen Josh's work. He's like I said, he's a breath of fresh air. I like people that are go-getters. I like people that, say what they mean what they say, and they don't really say it mean. They're just a very direct, I don't walk on eggshells type of person. I appreciate people like that, is all I'm saying. And I know their ability to ask questions. And not only that, I know the fact that if there's this many interviews, most likely both of them have seen all of his interviews at this point and know what his story and timeline are. So when he went up there, they had a lot more than, say, Dolly had at the beginning, or say Brooks had at the beginning, or even the media that went out and met him. Now they've had several interviews to be able to cross-reference. And like I said, I just happened to send a question over to Justin at the time this man was answering that question, kind of. But when he was saying the timeline of what time he got out of that community, I know for a fact, because I just sent the text and I got the notes. And I trust my notes. I trust my notes because I know I have bad hearing problems, and these notes to be this detailed here, that means I went back, I rewound, fast forward, rewound. I heard every little thing. And if I didn't understand what it was, I amplified the volume and listened. I've got all the notes. I know specifically what he says. And I remember Dolly asking him, he started out with 5:15, and he said, no. It was 5:30. And Dolly said, well, what time do you think you actually got from your house out to where you ended up stopping and putting the power steering fluid in? And again, another clarifying question is, why didn't you put the power steering fluid in your home, or while you were at the house? And if it was, well, I didn't realize it until I was driving. The minute you turned that first corner, you should have turned the car around and went back and took care of it, because you knew right then. It just doesn't make sense that you would then travel fully through your entire community to a spot outside of your community on a dirt patch to then stop with 3 people in your car so you can lift the hood and put power steering fluid in. It doesn't make sense. It seems like you would have done it, if you were going to do it on the side of the road, you would have done it in your community that doesn't have a whole lot of traffic, instead of on the one main drag going in and out of the house, or going in and out of the communities. It just, a lot of this stuff, because, other people that are out there maybe, but, we were there. We walked those streets from Brandy's house to the splash pad, over to their side of the community. Again, I've been at Sarah's mom's house. I've been at Sarah and Stacey's house. I know exactly where they are on both sides of the street, on opposite sides. Been to everywhere. Another question is, Stacey on one hand is saying that when he got home at 4:30, Sarah and Brandon were there, although there is conflicting corroborated information, and that is a post of Adrian with his son, which Sarah and Brandon said they were there at that time at 4:47. How could they be home with Stacey at 4:30 when he got home if they were still at that Applebee's in Nampa at 4:47? Because he told Dolly, again, remember, that he got home at 4:30 from his fare, and by 5:30 he's walking out the door very quickly. And he even stated that very quickly after he came home, they decided to go on ahead and get Brandon's vehicle. Drove out of the community, several turns, And then when they get on the main drag, that's when it was the right time to pull the car over and put power steering fluid in, just right at the same intersection as a boy, one block over, that a little boy disappears from. And that same person that was with your wife earlier that day has been designated as has notorious history of HT. So a guy that has notorious history of HT was in the community the same exact day as the time, or as the boy went missing, the 27th. When did he actually leave? Because if on one hand, Stacey is saying that his wife left early in the morning with Brandon and Adrian, and when she left early in the morning, she dropped Adrian off, and whatever they did that day is what they did. But when she dropped him off, he was gone. He never came back to the home. However, they came back to the home at 4:30 when he arrived. So the bad guy was in the same community as this little boy, and they both disappeared on the same exact day. Then you have another person from the same house in the vehicle right outside of the area that the little boy disappeared from, feet from him, according to one statement, an hour before he disappeared, and according to the statement tonight, a mere 27 minutes before he disappeared. So, little concerned about that. And the same person that was in that truck just so happened to take a duffel bag with clothes to his home, where he also changed the very clothes he was wearing, never bringing the duffel bag back, any additional clean clothes, and to the best of his understanding, whatever he took in that house never came back out of that house again. And they drive this car back to their house to work on it. But Brandon and Sarah don't go in the house when they get home. They go straight out there looking for Michael, and they were gone for an hour and a half. They stopped people from searching, I want to say, at around 11 or 11:30 that night. So there's no way that would have made sense. It would have taken them more than 10 minutes to walk out there where they are in their community. Maybe not 10 minutes, but it's going to take them a long, they're kind of further in the back of the community. So they're going to take a little bit further to get out there. It's still a few turns, not too bad, but they're not right there, and they were on foot. So that blows that timeline out, because they would have been gone less than 40 or 45 minutes based on their new timeline. Them getting back there at 10:20 or whatever time. I can't remember. I got to go back and listen. But the timeline changed. So we're now starting to see some fracturing in Stacey's timeline, and is that just a misspeak? Maybe he wasn't paying attention. Maybe there's times all the time. I mean, I think the most recent one was something happened in December. Which case was I talking about? Anyways, I said, I think it might have been Summer Wells. And I think it was Michael. I think it was Michael. And I was talking about, I can't remember, but I ended up misspeaking and kept saying June when I meant December. I think it was Brian Koberger. I kept saying June 30th. He was arrested June 30th, and I meant December 30th. But when I was talking to you guys like this, I was hearing it coming out as December 30th. But when I went to the replay, June 30th popped out. I'm like, what? Did I say June 30th? What did I say June for? So, I mean, it does happen. Could that be tonight? But he seemed really extra flustered. So I have to think that he made some fatal mistakes tonight. I think he did. Why would he be protecting Sarah and Brandon and potentially Adrian? I think it's because he's got some involvement, and if he squeals, they all are going to get in trouble. Something happened. I don't know what it is. In my opinion, I still haven't found the linkage. Yeah, I really haven't. I haven't found. Once this timeline gets a little bit tighter, I think we're going to see that's the reason why law enforcement is honing in on him. Now his timeline's moved up, and he was there a lot closer to the time Michael went missing than what he said on Dolly Vision's channel. So we're getting a little bit closer, and now we're starting to see why law enforcement's been on their ass and questioning them. Something ain't right, man. Something's not right. And the bad part about a lie is it's hard to remember what you said. And with Stacey, he's got a lot of things not in his favor. One is that, he has fetal alcohol syndrome. Two, he's been in bull riding accidents that have left him in, some type of medical despair in certain aspects of his life. And he's not the sharpest tool in the box. Do I think he is dumb as a box of rocks? Like people are making him out to be? No. Tonight proved that. I mean, he had the wherewithal to get a little frustrated. He wasn't that low-key guy that we've been seeing on the TVs. Sounds like he's been getting some pressure, like when people come out, he's probably now starting to get emails. He's probably not used to it. You know what I'm saying? And now he's starting to get flustered, and he's starting to feel the pressure of social media, asking him questions, clarifying questions, because we all have them. And as he starts bucking, answering those clarifying questions, people are going to start getting more aggressive. And, it's just, we see this phenomenon happen all the time. Yeah, pressure breaking pipes. You know it better than anybody. Absolutely. And he's just about to get a dose of the true crime genre, because we smell something that isn't smelling right. That the timeline, and this is a better timeline than we have for Candace Bly, right? This is a better timeline than we have for Candace Bly, and this is still Swiss cheese. Still Swiss cheese. Is it better? I give it that. We got a better timeline in this case right now. Whether it's true or not, I'm not going to stipulate to that, but we have a better timeline in this case right now than we do for Candace Bly in Summer Wells' case. And this timeline, again, is Swiss cheese. Actually, I should say melted Swiss cheese, right? Because it's ever flowing. It's starting to change a little bit, right? It's starting to melt a little bit. It's starting to get a little ooey gooey. Okay, the timeline as Stacey has it is starting to become ooey gooey. I like ooey gooey. I like ooey gooey better than moist. I got to be honest with you. I hate that word. So, but it's melted cheese, okay? And the reason why I'm saying is because I like Swiss cheese, because it talks about the holes, holes in the timeline, right? But this one is actually now starting to change rapidly. I mean, we went from 5:40 to after 6 now. I mean, I'm just kind of flabbergasted, and it's only been a couple days. So, pretty soon they're not going to be back home until midnight. They left him at 9:00 in the morning, didn't come back home until after midnight. I mean, I'm already starting to see the changes. They weren't here the whole day. They were out of town. All right, guys, I didn't want to take up too much of your time. Justin, thank you so very much for your interview. I wish I could have been there from the beginning. I'm going to go back and watch it and take notes for yours, and hopefully maybe get something together, because you got to go watch Dolly's if you haven't. I'd say about 20 minutes into Dolly Vision's interview with him, he starts talking about this timeline, the very timeline that just had me floored right there at the end of your show. Him saying after 6, I know for a fact what he said. I know, I almost can tell you verbatim, exactly word for word what was said. About 20 minutes in. I can't tell you that I didn't put down the actual mark, but it's about that. Thank you, Justice Jane. So you guys have a beautiful evening. Oh, let me pull this down. I'm in office too still. I've been working here all day. I promise you. I'm not. I mean, I have really been working today. Okay, I'm telling you, my My head was about to explode. And I was getting grumpy, and that's why I came live. I went over, I'm like, I haven't been on YouTube all day. I mean, outside of church this morning, I've been working. And even at the end of church, I ended up getting sidetracked. I didn't even say bye to anybody. I ended up getting sidetracked and didn't get it back in there to say bye to everybody. And I walked back in, and the whole church, the church had ended. It was right there. So I'm sorry, guys. I was bad today, but I had a lot of work, and I was just getting pulled like 1,000 different directions. And I realized I hadn't been on YouTube. So I get on YouTube, and I see Justin, and I'm like, ooh, because I had all I had all those questions. Like, remember, I was on my live with Dolly, and I'm like, ooh, I want to get this question clarified and that question clarified. And I seen a great opportunity because there he is again. And so I'm throwing my questions in the chat. And it was all over but the crime because Justin wasn't paying attention to me. I was floating in the sea of 1,900 people. Then I had to get serious. I had to pull out the text messages. And then ICU's in there, and she's like, I think he turned it off by now. She goes, I've already been blowing up his phone. ICU wasn't even being paid attention to. Wah, wah, wah. All right, guys, have an amazing Sunday. We will be back in the office tomorrow morning. Yay. Tuesday, we're probably going to have to, she says it's a true story. Tuesday, we're probably going to be starting. I know we've been enjoying our 7:30 time, but it's going to throw me off Tuesday. So we're probably going to I'm probably going to cut it in the middle and do like a 7:30 or 7 o'clock show and keep it at only an hour to an hour and a half. And hopefully we'll see how that works. I'm hoping that works well, but if it doesn't, but I'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow's 7:30, but Tuesday we'll be starting at 7 a.m. Mark your calendars, 7 a.m. Tuesday. I want everybody in advance notice. I don't want you guys coming in and saying, you didn't tell me you started a half hour early. Okay, I'm telling you, starting a half hour early on Tuesday, not tomorrow. You guys get to sleep in an extra half hour. It's Manic Monday. Don't wake up at the crack of dawn. You don't have to. I'll be up, but you don't have to be up. All right. You need to do a live with Justin tomorrow. Oh, yeah, that would be nice. I haven't collabed or spoke with Justin on a live. Golly, I think the last time was the dogs with Candace. Like, I was at a political event. I had just happened to stop there to check on the area and everything like that. And I was getting ready to leave or go to a different place, and we hear about the dog, and I lose it. And I made it to my political event, and Justin's calling me out there. There's all the, RVs and all the, generators and everything. And I'm trying to listen to them. My hearing sucks. And you get all like, in the back. I gotta tell you, we have some adventures, okay? People don't realize Justin and I have some stories, okay? It's true. Even ICU and I, we got some stories. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna keep those in my closet where every bit of my other personal information belongs. Well, I thought only my skeletons belong there, but I guess not. Anyways, guys, have a great night. Happy Sunday. God bless you. Until next time, please be safe and kind to one another. We are lovers over here on the Bullhorn Betty Crime Stories. Love you. Peace out. Rock it out with your coffee beans out. Let me see how many more jingles I can get in there. All right, love you.
As you wake up in the morning, you want to find the latest, greatest information about criminal cases and have an intuitive conversation about the suspects associated with these cases. Head over to the Bullhorn Betty channel on YouTube. Get breaking news right here on the Bullhorn Betty channel. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club. Enjoy your stay and enjoy your day.